Yes, so hello everyone and welcome back to Yin Yoga. We're going to begin by just sitting up. I want to just examine the breath just for a short bit. So just make yourself comfortable sitting in any way that's good for you. And I just want to open with a couple of things. The first thing is I've been really so enjoying and deepening my practice. And I've been really feeling and understanding how it is connected to this connection that we have, as strange as it may be, over the computer, just in terms of, how the yoga really just opens us up to a state of being where we can receive. So we start out, maybe with the joints and the muscles achy and everything is stiff, but the opening of the physicality is also the opening of the energy centers to receive the lessons that we need. So I've been really just incredibly grateful for the opportunity to be able to share this on a regular basis with you. It's just really such an important, profound part of my life, and just allowing me just to surrender this vehicle for the teachings and the lessons to come through. So I sincerely thank you for the opportunity. The other thing I wanted to mention is that it's also interesting that I now have the option to take my own class on occasion, which I do, which is a tremendous learning tool. And I want to make a suggestion about when questions come up for you. Yeah, so obviously when I share the teachings and the scriptures, and just like I said, what arises from my own practice, questions may arise. I would be surprised if they don't. When I take my own class, questions arise. So what I would suggest is when questions arise, don't go to your head. Don't go to the storehouse of knowledge that you have. Don't go to the intellect. Notice how the question affects your body and stay with that felt sense. Because if we do that, it's a very beautiful practice. If something arises, if some inquiry, if some question arises, and you can start to notice how it affects the physical body, the question just sort of dissolves into the answer. And the answer then blends and weaves into the question. And we just come to this place of just quiet, just an understanding. So we go from knowledge to understanding if we can start to break the habit of just going to the mind. So I'm just going to suggest that if something that I share, or even something that comes up that I don't share, comes up from your own exploration, resist the temptation to answer it intellectually. Notice how whatever it is affects your body, and then just keep relaxing into that. It's a beautiful way to refine this self-inquiry that is our yoga. So we'll just sit for a moment. Give me a few breaths, relax, breathe. So if you are sitting, just relax your shoulders and let your spine just naturally elongate. Relax your jaw. And now the inquiry of yoga. Good. So let's just sit here for a few more moments. And what I would like to suggest is to notice that typically, if you're asked to take a deep inhale, and let's do that, take a deep inhale, And notice if your rib cage elevates into the shoulders and the neck. So do this a couple of times and just notice. Don't try to correct anything, but just take a deeper inhale and notice if the top of the chest responds, if the shoulders come up, if the shoulders come into the neck a little bit. Yes? So this is typically what happens when we're responding to the environment, when we're responding to the external world, or if we're invited to, deep breathly, take a deep breath. So what I'm going to suggest is this becomes a pattern and a habit that's helping to maintain tension in the neck and the shoulders. So let's do it again. Again, keep your spine relaxed and elongated. And when I suggest to take a deep breath, let the shoulders stay relaxed and right where they are. Same thing with the neck. And just let the rib cage expand 360 degrees. So you just feel this 360 degree expansion. So try this for a couple of breaths. A nice deep inhale. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Keep the neck relaxed. And just feel this opening and this expansion all the way around the rib cage. The front of the lungs, the side of the lungs, the back of the lungs. And just do this for a few more times. And notice how the shoulders are relaxed, the neck is relaxed, the head is just gently settled on the shoulders, and you can still breathe deeply and let the lungs just expand in this circular, a bit vertical, yes, but also very much horizontal. And just the feeling of making space, more space for the lungs, being able to connect with the respiratory diaphragm, and giving you something to kind of push up against to explore your own breathing pattern. So this is a habit you just want to explore for yourself, how and when you breathe deeply. And often it's not even deeply. Sometimes it's just a response to, being surprised or fearful or emotional. The breath catches and it keeps this tension solidified in the neck and the shoulder. So just something to start to explore. And we can also bring that into the poses as well to see if we can breathe from a place of 360 degrees. Good. So from here, let's just open the legs out if you've been sitting with the legs crossed. And I just want to soften the back a bit. We won't be here too long. I just want to go forward in a different way, but this is nice just to really arrive here. So if you've pulled the feet, soles of the feet together, but if you've pulled them in towards you, let them relax out till the knees relax and the hips relax. And then just gently soften the lower back and come down and in a bit. Relax the weight of your head and feel these layers of sensation as you settle in. I was saying in the last few classes to use this imagery that as we come into any of these poses, there's typically this first layer of sensation. And from that first layer of sensation, listen for guidance. That you may want to stay there for the whole time. You may have an invitation from the body to go a little bit deeper, second layer. So don't be in a rush and just start to open up your capacity for subtlety as you move into these poses. And this is also why it's so vital that we remember that often withdrawing a bit is part of playing your edges, especially if you've gone past that first layer of sensation. You don't want to struggle here. You don't want to second guess that. Always best to release a bit, withdraw, breathe, relax, regroup, and then go back and see if you can find that first layer of sensation and then just encourage and allow the body to soften. Okay, that's good. So let's roll up from there. This was not the primary thing I wanted to do, but just nice to get the lower back a little soft. And what you can do from here, we'll just naturally go into this position. So with the soles of the feet together, we're going to leave the right leg in front, and then we're going to bring it over sort of parallel to the body. Yeah. And then we're going to take the back leg and stretch it back. So this is a sleeping swan position. You don't have to straighten out the back leg completely because we don't want to press the left hip down. Yeah, that would be a different, a much more yang position. We want that left hip to relax, so we're not forcing the rotation. What we're going to do is we're going to relax over the leg, but just take a note here that I have it at 90 degrees. This can be a bit stressful for the knee. So if you want to bring that foot in towards the body, you'll see this releases the stress in the knee. You have the option. You can go above it, really stress the knee at 90, or bring it in. So I'll just keep it in. That back knee can bend if you would like. And then two places to use bolstering. If this is right here, if this is feeling awkward for you coming forward, especially in that right hip, you can bring a blanket or something, a bolster, and put something under the right buttocks. So this will even out the hips a bit and they won't be as compressed. Same thing coming forward. If you're feeling like draping the body all the way over that right leg is not possible, or it's not accessible in this particular moment, then bolster up as much as you need to. So just find a place. This is a really powerful hip opener. And again, that stress on the knee. So, and IT band, piriformis on the right side. So for most of us, if we're not going to these areas regularly, we might want to bolster up as much as possible. And again, that back leg can bend a bit. You just kind of play with it. You know, just let the, that left hip guide you, and then just relax the body down as much as possible. You may want to put a little towel under the forehead so you don't squish up your nose too much, and then just try to relax. Well, actually, don't even try to relax, just relax. And once you've settled into what for the moment is an appropriate layer of sensation, that you're feeling it and you're, allowing yourself to flirt with your edge a bit, relaxing into the physical body, then you can revisit the breath. We're always revisiting, we're always recirculating back to the fact that we are breathing, and that the breath is, woven into everything. So as you breathe, see if you can feel this expansion in the way that I was describing, this circular expansion. So you're allowing the lungs to have some room. You're allowing the respiratory diaphragm to have some flow. And then, of course, always the opportunity as we, hold this, ritual of an asana for ourselves is to explore the mental energies that are arising and fading. So with even just a small amount of subtlety, it's very clear for us to see that this physical and emotional and breathing organism also has a strong connection to, is influenced and affected by our thoughts and our mind. So let me repeat something I said that when we opened, is that that knowledge and understanding are not the same thing. So knowledge, just an accumulation of ideas, and sometimes very, very useful, but oftentimes there's a good portion of these ideas, a good portion of our knowledge that we want to delete, that is just outdated, that is no longer serving us. Our understanding is this place of sinking in, if you will, relaxing in to the truth of our beingness. So the opportunity with understanding is to begin to let go of all of the reference points that our knowledge is so sure is keeping us who we are. And this is fundamentally, what's beautiful about this is fundamentally the exploration of yoga is the exploration of who we are. So to begin to de-emphasize, if you will, delete, if you will, knowledge that is no longer serving or even necessary, and just relax into a state of your own beingness, an understanding of the truth at a level that has no need for reference points. So we let go of all reference points and just go deeper. And really no need to explore this based on specifics. So again, if you don't understand this intellectually, good. Notice how it affects your body, because the specifics are, they're long gone memories. We can, pull them up and let them go, but they're not an accurate representation of who we are energetically. So the opportunity is to start to feel into ourself as these energetic patterns, feel ourselves energetically, the mental patterns of the mind, and certainly physical patterns. And again, start to let these patterns soften, open, even dissolve. Okay, so let's come on up, but just come up to your palms and straighten your elbows and just kind of sway a little bit, just soften into the lower back. We're going to keep going, but it's nice to turn this into an awoken swan here. So just we'll wake up the sleeping swan a bit. I have to tell you, when I did, this is the first thing I did this morning when I was doing this practice, and I just fell asleep here. I was in this particular pose for 35 minutes. It was lovely. It was a little tricky to get out of, but it was good. So just a little sway in the lower back, just maybe even bring the chin up and really feel the articulation of the spine when you bring the head up, and how it articulates down into the sacral spine. Good. And then from here, what we can do, let me be on this angle. So we have that right leg bent. Come on up, and two things. We're going to straighten out the right leg, and we're going to bring the back left leg around and place the foot on the inside, so in a half butterfly position. And again, not too tight that you're just coming into a habit, but explore the relaxation of the left knee and the left hip. And we'll just go right back into the forward bend. So we kind of switched it up in the hips and the pelvis a bit. I don't even need to describe it. But again, flirt with your edges here. Find that first layer of sensation. Use any bolstering that you need to maintain just a long period of equanimity in the pose, so you can relax and breathe and explore. Make sure you're not holding the weight of your skull up because there's tension in the neck. Really indulge the head forward so you can feel that tension in the neck, so you can explore it. And if it doesn't feel safe, then again, prop it up with something so it can be supported but not held. And one of the things that I think is particularly unique and incredibly beneficial about this approach to the body is that we're not concerned with, a universal alignment. We're not concerned with where you should be feeling something, but we're exploring the idea that if you are feeling something, then you're doing it. There's no possibility of right or wrong. We just let that go. We just make a direct connection with the densities and the flow of the body. And this is, not simply physically relaxing, but it can be mentally relaxing to be in relationship with yourself, your body, your psyche, your heart, and know that you need to accomplish nothing. There's no way to get anything wrong. You can slip below all of those, all of those little points of reference, let them go and just relax. Physically speaking, this is a lovely, when we're compressing the frontal space, to again explore this this deeper rhythm of the breathing. So no need to let the shoulders respond, but allow the rib cage, the respiratory diaphragm, even into the solar plexus, let it expand. Feel it all the way around the back of the lungs, the sides of the lungs. And then also notice, and what's really lovely, and I think it's really worthy to notice and to investigate a bit, is at some point, even this notion of, layers of sensation, pockets of density, a feeling of flow, we get to see how, incredibly surface the language is. And so being able to let go of the language and sink into the direct experience, and we don't have to use the language, we just feel it. This is really the yoga, this direct somatic connection. Then we're in the realm of patterns. We're in the realm of intelligence. We're in the realm of connectivity. We're in the realm of really consciousness as well, the body being alive and intelligent and conscious, and the language, it turns out, is a limitation. We then relax into this place of understanding, of being. So the points of reference get increasingly vague, so we're just in this wide open spaciousness. Good. So let's come on up from here. And you can straighten out that left leg. So we're going to switch it up a bit. We're not going to rest, but we're not going to do the second side of the forward bending yet. So what I'm going to suggest that you do is make a nice roll. Yeah, I was going to use my other blanket, but the kitty is resting on it. And I want to be able to put on these videos. No kitties were disturbed in the making of this video. So there he is, a little disturbed. But I'll use this. This is very good too. I've done it both ways. So I'm taking just a towel and I'm rolling it up nice and tight. So the mount that you roll it, the tightness of it will determine. We're going to put this in the mid back. And I'm also placing it on another little blanket here, only because I know the height that's appropriate for me. So you play with that, but have the roll as tight as possible so we get some direct compression and it doesn't turn into a pad where not as much will happen. You might want to have a little something for your head. And what we're going to do with this, and I want to show you one thing before we settle into it. So what we're simply going to do is we're going to sit in front of it and keep the feet on the floor and lower back so it's right below the shoulder blades. Yeah, so my shoulders are going to really drape over this. And then I could set up something for my head. You may not need something for your head. If I allow my head to the floor, it's still wonderful. And then at some point, we will let the legs relax out. So what I'm going to suggest here is we're going to be here for a while. And I'm going to suggest at some point, we put the feet back on the floor and just shimmy the body up so the roll goes a little lower. So it's going now from right below my scapula to just below mid thoracic spine. Yeah, and then we could do that even a little bit more. We won't go fully into the lumbar, however, because we may wind up there later. And then you can shimmy back up. So just sort of, we're going to kind of roll it down a little bit and roll it up a little bit with the feet on the floor, just kind of pushing the body up a bit and back. We'll make a few adjustments. And each time we'll let the legs relax back out. Yeah, good. So let's set that up with the roll right at the edge of the shoulder blades, the little scapula there. The arms let's initially let the arms relax to the side so the mid part of the body here can acclimate to this. Part of the exploration is, how do you feel the question? This is why the teachings of yoga are not informational. It's not for us to collect more information, try to discern whether it's right or wrong or valuable or not. The yoga primarily is to open up ourselves as spaciousness and be able to feel how does the inquiry, whether it's coming externally or it's from our inner workings, whatever arises that becomes an inquiry, can we feel it? And this is what I was saying earlier that I would like to repeat, because it's just really profound and it's so incredibly worthy of contemplation, that at some level we are opening to dissolving these energetic patterns that we believe ourselves to be. Yes, let me say that again. We're dissolving, exploring and dissolving energetic patterns that we believe ourselves to be, energetically, certainly mentally, and also physically. And certainly this can have an element of hesitation or even fear. If we feel this in the body, this fear, this can be a fear of death. If we feel this in the mind, this fear, this can be a fear of madness. But letting go of these points of reference that hold these energetic pathways, these patterns that allow us to identify who we think we are, it can be very strong. And to let go of them and to relax into an openness without reference points, it can be a bit frightening. So we want to feel safe within this larger context. And this is why we cultivate the groundedness of a yoga asana, to feel like I am breathing, like I am connected to the earth. My physical body has a certain shape that I can relax into. And then the contemplation of these energetic patterns, we feel a lot safer to lean into them. So if you haven't already and you would like to, it's not necessary. If you're in a good place, you can just stay where you are. But if you'd like to bend your knees, put your feet on the floor and just shimmy back a little bit, even if it's just an inch, 2 inches, it sort of allows the back line to have a little bit of release and movement. So the compression is not completely static. So we're kind of working with this balance between the receptivity of the stress and the benefit of the passive motion as well. And what's really so interesting about this is it's so incredibly personal. The yoga is really about resting peacefully, and when something resonates, this is what I'm saying. If the body resonates with exploring this, we explore it. We don't superimpose it or force it from the intellect. But it's so interesting in how we defend ourselves with what we know. So I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but we defend ourselves by what we know. The yoga is suggesting to soften that defensiveness and be able to relax into what we don't know. Knowing is a contraction. And just the presence, the sense of being present, the sense of feeling presence and observation is very, very powerful. It's also very mysterious, especially when we start dropping these, these points of reference and start deleting the accumulation of knowledge that's not only sometimes not necessary, but harmful to us. Again, this is a particularly interesting place to slowly and subtly expand your breath a bit. Allow the upper chest and shoulders and neck to stay relaxed, and just feel that you can expand your thoracic cage 360 degrees, that there's aspects to your lungs movement that often we're unaware of. So use the breath, the pressure of the breath, the resistance of the breath, just to explore this incredibly nuanced respiratory mechanism. And again, if you'd like to make a subtle shift to just kind of edge your body a little lower, a little higher, wherever you need to be. And let's put the feet back on the floor. So bend your knees at this point. And just have a little swing of the body. The knees certainly, but maybe roll a little bit onto the rib cage one side, a little bit, just enough to start to move things around, so it feels safe to emerge from this. These longer periods in the mid back line are very, very potent, because we're not moving so much on a daily basis like we are in the upper and the lower. So we want to keep compressing in and softening and massaging in. So just take a little bit of time here to feel safe. And then when you do, you can roll off of this. And we'll just curl on your side for a bit here, just to come into a little bit of a mild forward bend. And then we'll get ready to do the other side. We won't take a longer rest. We'll finish the forward bending first. Good, so let's come on up and we will do that. So we won't do the little preparatory forward bend, since we're well into it at this point. So this time, just to know, if you forgot, we're going to start with the left leg bent in front, and then we're going to extend the right leg back. But again, not so much that we start to press the right hip down. Yep, same thing. And then the angle of the front leg will be determined mostly by the knee. So explore with that where you want to put it.
And then you can put something under this left buttocks this time and have something forward if you need support. I know this can be awkward for some of us, but it's so well worth it. And again, you want to come to a place just physically where you could, indeed, if you didn't have me chattering all the time, you could fall asleep for 35 minutes. So allow the upper body to relax just very naturally, and then work out any little adjustments that you need, any supports that you need, and then we'll come into stillness.
So when we're invited to explore these energetic patterns, don't be lured by the left hemisphere to go looking for them. This is an energetic exploration. And so what I mean by that, let's just back up a little bit. So just to imagine that you're not quite yet born, but you're getting ready to be born. And in this, pre-born state, you're still just wide open, expansive, without any points of reference, without any energetic patterns, just infinite, open, conscious awareness. Yes, our home. Just let's imagine we're in our home of the infinite universe, God, if you will, for a religious reference. And then just coming in, that transition from this pure consciousness to separation, to being born, this is difficult. To go from this unlimited state to a limited place. And then as a little baby, we're not taking in, we're not listening to information, but we're feeling. And we're feeling, and we're taking in, and we're feeling the difficulty of this separation. And hopefully for most of us, we were supported in an extended place of divine leisure. But even so, the elements and the heaviness of the world starts to develop these grooves, starts to develop these patterns. We feel them. And so over a lifetime, we develop these energetic, mental, physical patterns, and they become who we are. We forget that before these patterns developed and made us who we are, if you will, we were free, we were home, we were. So this is the exploration, to lean into what are the patterns that are keeping us dense. And by density, I mean pain, anger, fear, all of these things, all of these illusory things. And this is one of the things that the ego, the ego runs on imperfection. The ego runs on the fact that, oh, we're not complete, but we can be. We need to know more. We need to do more. We need to be more. And it just reinforces these grooves. It reinforces these samskaras in yoga, we call them. So this is what I'm saying. The investigation is to relax into these patterns that we're holding with our mind, holding with our body, holding energetically. So when you come up against density, when you come up against something that feels solid and immovable, explore it. This is the opportunity. This is the way that the universe gives you the opportunity to learn something. It's a lesson being presented when it feels difficult.
If you're wondering, how do I explore in this way? How do I initiate this self-inquiry? Don't wonder, don't figure it out. This is what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is feel it, let it be felt by the body. How does the body be affected by this? If it's not affected, let it go. If there is a reaction, if there is a knowing, if there is a recognition, then we follow that recognition and explore it. Good. So let's come on back up. And again, let's go to the palms. So we will straighten the elbows if you can, and just stretch into the backward bend here. Just whatever movement feels good, just a little bit of swaying. And then let's make that transition again. So the front leg, the bent leg, although they're probably both bent, but the front one, the left one will straighten out. And then we will take this right one and place it on the inside somewhere of this left leg and come forward again. Yeah. And so when I say come forward again, not only being sensitive to the layers of sensation, but also to the angle of your range of motion. No need to mimic me, no need to think there's a correct way to do it. your skeleton and the way your body tightens and tugs will really guide you, and your discomfort. So skeleton, tugging and resistance and discomfort, and then find a place and settle in. And just to be a little bit more clear, when I use the language of energetic patterns and mental patterns and physical patterns, again, those are just pointers. There's no need to label your energy. We can celebrate our energy, but we don't need to label it. So one of the primary and most important shifts that we make in our yoga, mindfulness, meditations, contemplations is a shift from, if something is wrong, something is broken, the ego, again, thriving on imperfection, to nothing is wrong, everything is fine. I am still and always have and always will be that little preborn baby, that energy of life itself. So the imagery of working with patterns and density and physical body and thoughts, it's just imagery. And you want it to be your own personal exploration, to not superimpose, teachings and belief systems and techniques, but just to open, to be able to feel the innate perfection of yourself, to be able to turn your energy inward and just love yourself without having to label your energy. But like I said, celebrate your energy. This aliveness is who you are. And this is, in yoga, we call this awakening. Awakening to your true nature. And this is, why earlier I referred to it as such an incredible mystery, a miraculous mystery, because we, obviously feel our limitations, and we can feel fragmented, and we can feel like we need to fix something. So this is why we make the distinction that knowledge is not understanding, that we are not after the truth. We cannot understand the truth. We cannot find the truth. We are the truth.
So if we think we know the truth, know knowledge, if we think we know the truth, we're fooling ourselves. So we relax into this, perfect, brilliant stillness of who we are. Good. So let's come on up from here, please. And let's unfold everything and let's lie down for a rest. So we'll take a little bit longer rest now since we did quite a sequence there. So just make yourself comfortable. We'll take a rest and then we'll continue. The Indian sage Nisargadatta Maharaji, he put it so beautifully. He said that when you know yourself as nothing, that is wisdom. When you know yourself as everything, that is love. So in the practice of the Hatha Yoga, the practice of becoming, deeply embodied, so sinking below all of the concepts and all of the imagery and all of the knowledge and all of the belief systems to become genuinely and deeply embodied, we begin this exploration at a very basic pulsation that our cells themselves are contracting and expanding. And this basic contraction of life itself, this very primal vibration, before it has any labels, before we can identify it in any way, this is the nothing and the everything. Contraction, expansion, wisdom, love. And so at this level, we are completely free. We are completely free to explore this incarnation in any way that we like, and take the limitations of how we've identified ourselves, the self-image that is keeping us in this cage, and realize that the cage is not locked and we're as free as can be. And this is the inquiry. Okay, so let's come on up. I successfully transferred that kitty so I can have the blanket that I want. And like I said, if you have a yoga block, I haven't been doing this with the block for a while because I'm not sure who has blocks and who doesn't, but it just offers a different kind of intensity. So even if you have a block and you don't want it to be more intense, this is going to be for the pelvis, then what we will do to substitute for the block is just fold up a blanket. And the reason I wanted this is a heftier blanket that we're going to just make a pad, a square pad that kind of mimics the block. Yeah. So it's about the same height and it has a nice stiffness to it, but it also has a little more softness, obviously, than the block. So you can do this with a pad, with a blanket, or if you're going to try it with the block, I would suggest putting the blanket just over it, just to kind of soften the edges. So what we will do with this then, if you are ready for this, is we're just going to settle the back of the pelvis on here. Yeah. So the only thing you need to be careful of, it's a little easier if you have the block because the edges will tell you, don't be in the lower back. But what I would like to do is just come to your hands, feet on the floor, and just elevate the hips and settle the pelvis back there. Yep, not the lower back. And then keep the feet on the floor, come to the forearms, let the upper body come down. If you're going to put something under the head, only very thin for comfort. We don't want the chin tucking in here. We want the cervical spine as relaxed as possible. And then make sure you're good. Make some adjustments here. And then let the legs relax out. And it's going to pull over the top of the hips here. Certainly psoas if you're feeling some tightness on the very top part of the hips. And then you can let the arms relax to the side. And then if you do have the pad of blanket, just make sure it's not too far up so you're catching in the lumbar spine. So settle so it's flat on the pelvis. And then we'll just stay here for a bit. Do try to approach this area with just great sensitivity. If it feels overwhelming or unsafe, always better to back away, withdraw a bit, bring the height down, trade the block for a blanket. Very massively ligamented area of the body where the fascia not only is entangled and even micro misalignments reverberate tension to the hips and other parts of the body, but because of the amount of ligamentation into the sacrum, it can dehydrate if we're not compressing and releasing and compressing and releasing and stimulating the synovial and other fluids here. So be gentle here, be sensitive here. And again, just feel into it. There's nothing to fix here. It's just feeling energetically, how and what is being held, and not in isolation. Like I said, from this center of your sacral area, there is a reverberation right out of your body. So right to the boundary of the skin, and then it also will continue off into the far reaches of the universe. And then at any time you would like, and again, and always, if you're in an interesting place, feel free to stay there. But if you would like to put the feet back on the floor and let the knees both go to one side, and maybe hover here for a bit and then go to the other side. I'll just leave this up to how it feels. So some of this will transfer with this twist, especially when you heighten the pelvis, this will transfer into the lumbar area on one side or the other. So if you'd like to do this, we have plenty of time here. Just let the knees go off to one side, let it sink in, let the compression be absorbed wherever it's being received, and then you can do the other side. Another way to approach what I've been talking about in terms of these energetic patterns is we can go back to the primacy of vibration, and we can explore that sensations have vibration, so we can feel that tingling. This is probably one of the most obvious, but that also thoughts themselves have vibrations. Your sense of yourself, how you hold yourself, has a vibration. Your breath has a vibration. The interconnectedness of all of your organs and processes have a vibration. So you can, slowly connect to these, but then let them blend into one vibration. So we have to work hard to have a vibration of sensation, a vibration of mental energy, a vibration of cells, of all of these labels. So we start there. We allow ourselves then to soften into, at some level, it's just one vibration. And I don't have to make an effort. I don't have to try to superimpose these divisions and these separations. So just a little bit longer here, have any movement that you would like. If you want to put the feet on the floor at this point and maybe just put both legs up to the sky, or bring the legs in, soles of the feet together. Obviously be much more careful if you're on that block. But again, the idea of having some passive movement. So you could bring one knee into the chest, both knees into the chest, legs up to the sky, let them open. You could bring the soles of the feet together and let the weight of the legs pull you deeper into the hips. You could go back to putting the feet on the floor and just letting the knees go side to side, drawing up into the lower back. And then also, before you come out, it's always nice to put the feet on the floor, make sure the upper body is nice and stable, and then just elevate the hips up a couple of times. So just press the hips up nice and softly, though, and not so much, for strengthening, but just to kind of feel this connection. You can almost feel the head of the femurs in the hip sockets, and the way that the pelvis is so ligamented and holding everything together. And
up into the sacral spine where the lumbar spine starts to travel up. So just a few raises here. And then when you have that, at some point when you have the pelvis elevated, you just pull the bolstering out from under you if that works for you, or you can start to roll off and then allow yourself to relax down, let the legs relax out. And we'll just stay here and rest for a bit. Yeah, one of the reasons that I bring to our attention this, the qualities of knowledge and understanding, and that knowledge is not understanding, just the sort of the discernment between the two is that, as far as I can tell, the brilliance of life itself is always bringing us lessons. And one of the ways that we can deflect those lessons, one of the ways that we can not fully embody the lesson, is by overthinking it, is by analyzing it, is by diagnosing it, is by trying to see it as a labyrinth and get lost in that labyrinth. So to understand the difference between these two energies, I'll just call them, between the knowledge and understanding, allows us, when these lessons are appearing, to see how they affect the body, to appreciate the depth of the way that embodiment can actually guide us and help us integrate the lesson. Not that certainly there's not a time and a place to use the intellect and the knowledge, but to make this discernment, it can be very powerful, because then we have to feel it, then we have to be with it, then we have to own it and take responsibility. Whereas often the intellect and knowledge will want to justify it, project it, blame it, instead of really feeling it and taking full responsibility. So how does the body receive it? How is that lesson, that discomfort, that pain being received in the body? How is it affecting the body? And what can you learn from that? Okay, so let's come on up, please. And let's get, if you have a nice blanket like this one, then roll it up. You can also use the small bolster for this. So if you have a small bolster and you want to use that, I'm using the rolled up blanket because it just gives a little bit more height. So we want to just bring it under the knees at pretty much the width. And I'm using the width of the small bolster, so you know when you roll your blanket. So you could use this. This one sort of sags a little bit after a while. It's a little bit more firm with the blanket, and that's what I preferred. And then we have this angle. So we'll use this angle of that small bolster. Really take the time here. I know sometimes when we open the legs, we think we're extending. Yeah, we want to grab the toes and get a nice stretch. Perfectly fine in a yang practice. Not really what we're doing here in yin, where we want to relax and soften and disengage muscular tissue as much as possible and let the ligamental tissue receive this stress. So really soften here. You can put your hands wherever you'd like. You can put a bolster up front. You can put your forearms on the roll and just kind of soften into this. Well, another thing about putting this roll underneath is it's not so high that you're still going to get some hamstring compression, but a little differently than if we used the bigger bolster, and certainly differently than if we had nothing underneath. So these, three muscles of the hamstring are super big and complicated and lots of different things. So just relax, try to soften and feel and breathe and so ultimately our relaxation and the the gentleness of our contemplation, we begin to directly see that there is no labyrinth, that there are no imperfections, and we genuinely and authentically just allow ourselves to settle into presence. And I don't simply mean attempting to be present with the present moment. I am using presence in the entirety of its vastness, that we are presence and we can feel that presence. This is our aliveness. This is our consciousness. This is our awareness. And so when we allow ourselves to soften back into this presence, then all of this, all of these patterns and all of these language and all of the yogas and meditations and concepts and self-images, we just watch that. We just observe that. This is what I was saying earlier, how powerful presence and observation is. And we allow ourselves, authentically allow ourselves to taste the flavor of our own perfection. We allow ourselves to turn inward and just love ourselves and see that all of these unfoldings are just these energetic patterns that we
little by little get to dissolve and we don't have to fix them. So this is the beautiful thing about yoga. It's not asking us to do anything. The mysticism of it is quite generic, that we just can relax and breathe with this direct sense of presence. Good. So let's come up from here. And you can just keep the roll under your legs if you would like. And what I would like to do here is a little bit of that neck mobility that I did a couple of weeks ago. And what we're going to do, a couple of ways to do this. I brought a few more props out. You can just either interlock your fingers if this is accessible to you, and bring your arms up. You could also use a yoga strap for this. So if this is not accessible to you, the yoga strap is nice because you can use it for support and just find a place. It's nice to keep the arms parallel. I also have this lovely thing that this is my personal preference, is these bands that you can, it just applies a little bit more pressure. And very, very yang here, but we won't be holding this very long. So if you have one of these or a yoga strap, or just simply interlock your fingers behind your back and pull them up, let's do that. Yep, and we'll keep this under the legs for now. Yep. And then just stay with me. I won't really describe it too much. It's really easy. And maintain as much of this pressure as you can. Certainly don't force it. You can release it at any time. And then we'll just keep the bottom of the chin parallel to the floor, and very slowly just chin to the right shoulder, chin to the left shoulder, chin to the right shoulder, chin to the left shoulder. And don't let my pace lead you. If you want to go slower, please do. I wouldn't go too much quicker, because at the end you want to lean in. Yeah, just back and forth, nice and easy. And again, if it becomes too tedious or even distracting to keep the arms behind the back, you can just rest on your palms if you'd like, or bring them forward. Good. And then we'll come back to center. And from center here, we'll drop the chin down and bring the chin up. Try not to sink into the lower part of the cervical spine, but kind of pull up and back. So we're bringing the back of the head up a bit, and then chin down. Chin up, but really pull up out of the upper spine, and chin down. Chin up and chin down. Chin up and chin down. Let's do a couple more if you're moving at my pace. Chin up and chin down. One more. Chin up and chin down. Good. So we'll bring the bottom of the chin back parallel to the floor. And this time we're going to do left ear going towards the left shoulder, but we're thinking right ear up towards the sky. And then right ear to right shoulder, but left ear up towards the sky. So we're more pulling on the left side when we put the left ear up, and just side to side. So we're not sinking into the side we're going, we're pulling up towards the side, the ears up to the sky. Oh, this is just so lovely. Really slow down at the end here and feel any of that tugging and density and complexity and ay-ay-ay-ness. So a couple more. Right ear, right sky, right sky. Huh? Yes, make a right at the sky, go left at the other sky, and then keep going straight. Good. Let's come back to center. And then we're going to jut the chin out and pull the chin back into the face, flat face. Chin out, chin back, chin out, chin back, chin out, chin back, chin out, chin back. One more, chin out, chin back. Let's relax. Release the arms. And let's come forward for just a bit longer. So really let the arms relax here. Place them where they're supported. Really now, again, use the weight of the head to draw you in. Upper spine, articulating all the way down to the lower spine. And then we'll just spend a little bit more time in this forward bend. And you know what's really interesting about cultivating this space of yoga, and I'm not talking about yoga in the hatha yoga sense of physical exercise, because that's such a limitation, is that you know we all understand the endeavors that we take on to study. Yes, we can study academics, we can study art, we can study music, we can study anything, and we understand how to bring our intelligence to that study. Yoga is simply inviting us to study ourself. And yes, ourself at the physical level, ourself at the mental, emotional, and energetic level, but also at our soul level. And so these lessons that I am suggesting come to us from life are meant to bring our soul level back into balance and alignment. So we get to discover the nature of ourself. So it's a beautiful thing, yoga, and it's so uniquely personal and intimate. It's an intimacy with oneself. Okay, so let's come on up from here. Although I know we could just spend a long time here. Although maybe we have. And then what I would like you to do is take that same roll, and again, you could use the small bolster. I'm going to use the roll for this, so either way. And then we're going to put it crossways, so horizontal here, and buttocks on the floor. Same thing. It's good to hold it in, whether you have the little bolster or you have a roll. It's good to hold it in so it doesn't slide as you're coming back. I like to go to my forearms, and this is where I do my first check-in. So this would be my first layer of sensation. If I bring this upper body weight back, will it be too much? If I sense that it is, I'll unroll this a bit. Might not need more, but you could also add some if you need or like. Then once you bring the upper body back and the buttocks comes up, snuggle down a little bit so you get the buttocks on the floor. And then we're going to open the legs out. Yeah. Good. So just let this, we're going to add something to this, but let yourself marinate here for a bit. Make sure you're good and supported and the compression is appropriate for this lumbar area. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, good. and this is also, what I meant earlier. So if we're really allowing our yoga to be an intimate study of the nature of ourself, who we are, this is the awakening, then what I meant earlier when I said we cannot know the truth is that we cannot use our knowledge, that accumulated knowledge and opinions and judgments and belief systems. It's not possible. We're fooling ourselves. The truth is the nature of our being. It's to simply realize it. It's a simple realization, to be able to look out, to be able to contemplate directly. This is the authenticity of direct experience, that no, I am not all of these things that are always changing, the thoughts and perceptions and feelings. I am what does not change. I am this presence. And we connect with, we recognize ourselves as this presence. And this is the opening to this exploration of yoga. Quite a lovely way to ground ourselves in a rather chaotic and ungrounded world. So let's put your feet on the floor and be careful with this. This is a little more intense than a typical reclining twist when we have this pesky thing in our lower back. So put the feet flat on the floor and very, very carefully either way, I'm going to go to the right, but whatever side you're called to, we're going to let both legs go over to one side. I like to adjust the top foot and kind of walk it away from my knee so it opens my hip a bit. And then you're going to hopefully feel a little more intense compression in that lower right lumbar area. This is intentional. So you can go, stay here as long as you like and go to the other side. I'll call time just to keep it even, but please don't feel like you have to be on my time frame for this. But to isolate the lumbar area with this kind of intensity, over time is very, very releasing. Again, the compression and the release, but also we must be safe. Whenever we're working with pain and agony and suffering, we must be safe. Good. So this might be a good time to slowly bring those legs up and let them drift to the other side. And again, you can adjust that top leg in any way that you need to. So depending on how you're feeling, you can either bring the knees up and straighten them out, or we can do the twist one more time and you can let both legs go to the other side now. And I'm holding these twists for a relatively short time, simply because of the intensity. So this is sort of a spectrum with this approach to the yoga, where if there is a greater degree of muscular tension, we hold it for less time so the muscles don't fatigue and start to spasm. If there's not as much muscular tension, we can hold for much longer. So this is always the kind of the balance that we're trying to explore in our bodies. Good. So if you want to bring those legs up and bring them to the other side, this would be a good time to do that as well. And when I, talk about, letting the body be affected by the questions, I'm not simply talking about, intellectual inquiry. I'm also talking about that oftentimes when we sink into the body's trying to tell us something in its own language, and there's an inquiry there, there's an uncertainty there. So we could always, turn that into a diagnosis. We could always Google that and see and think what that is and get 10 opinions, or we could ask the body. We could go deeper into it. We can draw ourselves into the fabric of the density itself and listen to the body. And this is an ongoing trust that we begin to develop with the somatic intelligence, and how to listen to it, and how to really let go of this energy of I know, and start to open into the just the wisdom of I don't know. I know is a contraction. I don't know is a release. So if you've not already straightened your legs out, just straighten your legs out. And if you can stay in this backward bend a little longer, if you could just put your hands on your lower belly. And then very slowly, let's start to inhale into the lower belly and really feel that it's rising here. And at the end, just hold it and breathe into it. Breathe into any resistance. And on the exhale, feel the release. So just connecting with the movement here of this lower area. Just a nice, slow, deep breath, and just feel the belly fill into the hands. Just hold it there, just feel it, just appreciate it. And on the exhalation, just feel the sense of emptiness. The exhalation is emptying. The inhalation is bringing attention. And just do this for a bit at your own pace. And just appreciating the breath and the movement blending together. But also just the sensitivity of this area and the intelligence of this area. The intelligence of the whole gut area, and how sometimes we can we just bypass how we listen to it. So allowing the breath to relax into the belly and to empty out of the belly, this is very, very beneficial. And then when you're ready, you can put your feet back on the floor. A couple of things here. You can either ease back up onto this roll, so put the pelvis up on it, or you can just roll off it, or you can again elevate the hips and pull the bolstering out from under. And then just make yourself comfortable, and we'll move towards closing. So you can, as always here now with this new system, the choice is to simply go into your own shavasana, or to do any counter pose that you think you might need, or to begin to sit up, and we'll find some space to close. And let me just repeat one thing that I said during the practice, which I think is very worthy to be reminded of, is that we are, at our essence, in our presence, perfect. So in the dream, we dream all of these imperfections. We dream all of these monsters and situations and lions and tigers and bears, these illusory situations and circumstances. But when we awake from that dream, when we feel ourselves as essence, as presence, as consciousness, as we let the patterns dissolve, we just simply can sit quietly in this inner perfection, this sense of self. So again, no need to label these vibrations, no need to label yourself, but simply celebrate yourself. Namaste.